Her most life-changing Christmas gift wasn't wrapped in shiny paper, but spoken quietly at a neighbor's door. Just one polite dinner invitation. No expectations, no grand promises. And no idea it would change absolutely everything. Christmas Eve has a way of making silence feel heavy for Sarah. That silence pressed in from every corner of her small apartment. There was no tree twinkling in the corner, no plans buzzing on her calendar, no messages lighting up her phone with holiday cheer. She kept telling herself she was fine. That solitude was easier than the sting of disappointment. It was a story she'd told herself for years. Then came the knock. It was soft, almost apologetic, barely cutting through the quiet. Outside stood Mrs. Henderson, her elderly neighbor from down the hall. Her coat was buttoned a little crookedly, and she held a warm casserole dish in her hands, the steam fogging up the cold air. "I was wondering," she began, her voice gentle, "if you'd like to join us for Christmas dinner. It's nothing fancy, only if you don't already have plans, of course." Sarah's immediate instinct was to say no. It was a reflex, built from habit and a deep-seated fear of being a burden. But something in Mrs. Henderson's eyes stopped her. There was a delicate mix of hope and hesitation, a look that said, "I'm reaching out, and I hope you'll take my hand." And for the first time in what felt like a lifetime, a different word came out. She said yes. Walking into the Henderson house was like walking into a cloud of warmth. It didn't smell like a perfect, staged holiday. It smelled like life. There were too many chairs squeezed around the dining table, a happy jumble of mismatched plates, and waves of laughter spilling from the kitchen. Sarah had braced herself for polite, surface-level conversation. She expected to be the quiet guest in the corner, an obligation someone had kindly fulfilled. Instead, she found genuine curiosity. People asked her real questions, not just about her job, but about her day, her thoughts, what she was passionate about, and more importantly, they actually waited for the answers. Stories were shared, some funny, some poignant. Jokes were told that missed their timing, leading to more laughter, and the silences, when they came, weren't awkward voids to be filled. They were just comfortable pauses for breath in a wonderful, rambling conversation. At some point during the meal, Sarah realized something both unsettling and beautiful. No one at that table was being kind to her out of a sense of holiday duty. They weren't just being polite. They were simply present. They saw her, and they were glad she was there. And that's simple. Profound acceptance started to unravel everything she believed about belonging. She thought belonging was something you had to earn, to fight for, to prove you deserved. But here, it was just given freely. After dessert, as the evening wound down, Mrs. Henderson poured them both a cup of tea. They sat in comfortable quiet on the couch. Mrs. Henderson didn't offer unsolicited advice or try to solve Sarah's problems. She didn't pry into the reasons for her loneliness. She just listened, creating a safe space for Sarah to simply be. That dinner wasn't a one-time event. It was a beginning. A week later, they had coffee. Then they started taking walks in the park. Soon, their conversation stretched longer and longer. Filling afternoons, Mrs. Henderson never once said, "You should be more confident," or "You need to get out there more." She just treated Sarah like someone who was already interesting, already worthy, already enough. And slowly, subtly, Sarah began to believe it too. That one dinner invitation unlocked something that had been dormant inside her for years, quietly. Encouraged by this newfound sense of self-worth, Sarah revisited a passion she'd buried long ago, writing. She started a small blog, then submitted a piece to a local magazine. She took a risk and applied to teach a community writing workshop. The doors of opportunity didn't all swing open at once. But now, she could see them. They appeared where before there were only walls, and it all started because someone once said, "You can sit with us." The invitation wasn't really about the food or the celebration. It was about dignity. It was a quiet acknowledgement that she mattered, that her presence had value. The following Christmas, things were different. Sarah's apartment had a small, cheerful tree. Her phone buzzed with messages from new friends, and as she looked out her window, she noticed someone else, a new neighbor in the building, always polite in the hallway, but always alone. This time, it was Sarah who knocked on a neighbor's door. "I don't know if you have plans for Christmas." She said softly, holding a plate of homemade cookies. "But we're having a get-together. And we'd love to have you." The circle widened. That first invitation had created a ripple. The table that once welcomed one stranger now welcomed many. The kindness multiplied, not through grand gestures, but quietly, naturally, and endlessly. That one Christmas dinner didn't just change a season for Sarah. It altered the entire trajectory of her life. Her life didn't suddenly become perfect. It was still filled with challenges and imperfect days, but it became connected. And that connection, that sense of belonging, is what saved her. Because sometimes the miracle isn't loud or dramatic. It's subtle. It's a chair pulled back from a table. A place made for one more person. A quiet moment of inclusion that says, "Without needing any words at all, you belong here." The smallest invitations often carry the greatest power. You never, ever know whose life you're about to change simply by making a little room at your table. If this story touched your heart, don't just scroll away. Share it. You never know who might need to feel that little glimmer of light today. Thanks for listening.